Hello dudes, Axel here. Welcome to another Linux video. In the previous Axel's Linux log, I talked about the Solus operating system and how I was really strongly considering switching to it as my daily driver. And as you can see here, I have indeed done so. Well, okay, you might not be able to tell by just looking at it if you're not familiar with things, but this is the Budgie desktop on Solus. Can't confirm. Anyway, I have indeed switched to Solus as my daily driver, and in this video, I'm going to talk about why I like the system so much, and hopefully keep things a lot more focused and cohesive than my usual longer, rambly videos, which I'm already kind of failing to do. Let's get started. Alright, so first things first. First thing that I really like about Solus, they are focused on delivering a cohesive computing experience for the home users, and that's not really, might sound like kind of a small thing. It's like, well, isn't that what a lot of distros are kind of focused on? Kind of. But a lot of other distributions, like let's take Ubuntu for example, sure, like one of their focuses is on the desktop, but they also do all sorts of other things, like they're focused on like Internet of Things, servers, stuff on the cloud. So like, while Ubuntu, being one of the biggest distributions, of course does have some focus on the desktop, they're focused on a lot of other things as well. It's not their only focus. So the nice thing about Solus is this is their one focus. So not only is Solus like all focused on the desktop user experience, like they don't just ship like their desktop environment. They do like a bunch of other small, well I say small, but other like just nice additions as well. The first example that comes to my mind, which is a pretty nice one, is if we go under their Learn More thing here. So the user experience side of things here also kind of extends to the software that they ship. Like they have certain things that are not within the repositories of like some other distributions, like Ubuntu, again, for example. I'm going to be using that as an example a lot, because it is kind of the biggest, most popular distribution of Linux, Ubuntu is. But, so like, for gamers, they have a lot of cool stuff here. There's this program that I use called Lutris, and Lutris is not in the repositories of a lot of distributions, including Ubuntu. Solus does include it, and what Lutris is, it's an open gaming platform for Linux, helps you install and manage your games in a unified interface, very convenient, and it's a pretty cool piece of software. It's not even like in its 1.0 release yet. It's been, how long has it been in development for? I don't know how long it's actually been in development for, but it is pretty cool. Recommend looking into it if you're considering looking into switching to Linux or anything. Definitely look into Lutris, it's pretty cool. Aside from that though, they also have this thing called Linux Steam integration, and basically what that does, if I bring my notes back up here, it'd probably help if I actually brought up the application. One second. Okay, apologies in advance if things get glitchy in the background, as they like to do sometimes when I do screen capture. Linux Steam integration here. I know it's kind of tiny there. Future self, zoom in on that. Sorry, you'll have to say bye to my face for a second, guys, but Linux Steam integration. So basically, it can force 32-bit mode for Steam, which might help with some games, I guess. I've never actually used that option, but perhaps more importantly, it lets Steam, or can make Steam, use the native runtimes provided by the operating system rather than runtimes that are provided by Steam. Now, personally, I haven't noticed like Steam using its own runtimes being an issue for me, except for one specific instance. Let me actually bring up Steam real quick. So there's this game. It's called, let's see, yeah, X3 Albion Prelude. That in itself has always worked just fine, but there's a mod for the game, a total conversion mod. It's pretty big. It's called LitCube's Universe, and I probably should have prepared this ahead of time. I'm terrible. Don't mind me. Just go back to that. I need you to go back to where I just was. Oh god, I can't. Okay. So, LitCube's Universe. That's the wrong folder. Oh god. Hold on. Where the fuck did I put? There we go. LitCube's Universe. So, previously on, like, we'll say, for example, on Ubuntu-based distributions, I had to use this workaround thing within this folder. I don't know where I put that. I think I might have got rid of that. Either way, I had to like set up this workaround thing to force the game to use like Steam's runtimes or something. I think. You know, the more that I think about this, this game didn't run through Steam, actually. It ran separately. Wow, worst example I've ever thought of. You know, I can't even remember what the workaround did now. Okay, this got horribly derailed. Either way, Solus does cool stuff like that to help better integrate Steam with Linux, because Valve, while we definitely appreciate that Steam is on Linux in the first place, it could probably be, there's some things that could be done better. So that example got horribly, horribly derailed. Either way, they do cool stuff like that. So they also have a focus for the gamers. So continuing with Solus's focus on the user experience, they also have their flagship Budgie desktop environment. Budgie is based on, or currently based on GTK3, which is like the most widely used toolkit for Linux-based applications and stuff. As far as I'm aware, anyway, I don't know how correct I am on that. I think that's the case, though. Anyway, Budgie is based on GTK3. They're planning to, at some point, switch it over to being based on the Qt toolkit. That's Q, lowercase t, pronounced cute. I'm not saying it's a Qt toolkit. I'm saying that's the name of it. It's a little weird. I might occasionally say Qt, but Qt, Qt, same thing. Anyway, they're going to be switching to that at some point because as it is based on GNOME, some things can break when GNOME updates because that's how GNOME and GTK are. But anyway, as it stands right now, it's perfectly usable, very nice to use. This over here is not part of it. This is a doc called Plank. That's a thing that's also in the repos. You can get that too. Normally, there's an icon-based task list that's in the panel up here. And it's basically, imagine this being up here in the panel, and that's basically how it is. So that's pretty nice. I kind of like having them over here, though, separate to keep the panel clean. Anyway, the current version of the menu they have here, not the greatest, but it works. It's also very nicely customizable. You got the Raven menu over here, where you can control audio, outputs, inputs. You have a calendar, all just right here. Very nice. There's shortcut keys for that, like Super A to go to the applets, applets. Go to notifications with Super N. Did Super S do something? No? Okay. Super key does that. Super key is your Windows key, by the way, for those who don't know. It's also sometimes called the meta key. I talk way too fast for stuff sometimes, don't I? Anyway, also from Raven, the Raven menu over here basically acts as like a sort of control center without actually opening up the settings window, so it's pretty cool like that. You can also change your themes. It has its own built-in theme. You can also do other themes, like we got Arc Darker here right now, for example. You can go dark or light. Also got other stuff like Adapta, which I usually do like Adapta, but we're going to go into that another time. I was going to say something, don't worry about it. So try back to Arc. I like the built-in theme for it because for some reason the built-in theme actually looks better with the Arc window stuff than the Arc theme for it. In my opinion, it's kind of weird, but either way, built-in theme's nice. And you can also change fonts. So you have a lot of configuration stuff available right here from the Budgie or from the Raven menu, so that's pretty cool. Of course, you can customize the panel. They got all these little things called applets, which you got like your system tray, all that good stuff. So Budgie is pretty cool. It's not my favorite desktop environment right now. That still goes to KDE Plasma, but it's getting better and better as things go along, and I can't wait to see where the Budgie desktop goes from here. So also very nice with the user experience and desktop experience for Solus is their software center. Now, it's not the prettiest software center. It's definitely not the best looking, but it is very, very usable. Once again, I apologize for the random flickering of stuff over there. It does that when I do screen window capture for some reason. It's not a Solus exclusive issue. I don't know why that happens. But unfortunately, window capture of the Software Center was not working either, much like with Linux Steam integration. So bear with me. Anyway, not the prettiest looking Software Center. These icons are not default, by the way, as I have the Papyrus icons active. Usually, by default, Arc is the icon theme that is selected, but I like my Papyrus icons, so I'm going to switch back to that. That's what it looks like by default. Going back to Papyrus, I really like the Papyrus icons. They look very nice. Anyway, one of the nice things within the Software Center that, in my experience, you don't see a whole lot of in other distributions, repositories, is like they have a nice selection of themes right here within the repository. So that's pretty awesome. We got Adapta, which I briefly showed earlier. I got Arc, which I'm using right now, which I've started to like more and more since I started using it. You got Breeze from KDE Plasma. I got the Breeze cursors, which it's a very, very little thing, but I swear, like, KDE Plasma's Breeze cursor here is like, it's a very tiny little thing, very little detail, but the fact that they actually, like, made a nice looking cursor theme that's just, like, not exactly like every other cursor out there that actually looks nicer is just really cool to me. Like, that's not even a Solus thing, that's just like, that's a KDE thing. But it's just so nice, and I really appreciate that Solus has it installed and active by default, because I know it's just the cursor, but it's probably the best looking cursor theme in my opinion. So it's one of those little things, but I appreciate it a lot. So of course you also got your Breeze icons, even the icons from the Elementary OS, which is also a nice one, but I might go into Elementary another time. EvoPop. I don't know what EvoPop is. But yes, a nice selection of a lot of popular themes and stuff right here within the repositories, right here in a very easy to find desktop theming section. So again, not the prettiest looking Software Center right now, but it is super functional, very easy to navigate. Like, let's say, for example, if we want to find a... let's say like some audio software. Let's see. So there you go. Multimedia. Let's do that again. Multimedia graphics, audio software. Boom. One. Video editing stuff. Video software. Graphic stuff like GIMP or Krita, for example, or like photo manipulation stuff, or 3D graphics. It's all right here. Super easy to find. And if you can't find it by going through the categories, the search is very functional and actually works for every package, unlike some software centers, GNOME software. So, yeah, and again, like many other things, it's only improving from here. So, I love their software center because it actually just works. I run into minor issues with, like, updates, for example, with, like, GNOME software not always working properly or for some reason. With Solus's software center here, never a problem. Almost never a problem. Plus, they have a third-party section here, which technically these aren't in the repositories, but what it does is it like goes and grabs the software from the provider and then it just installs it from there. So easy access to things like in just Password Manager, Flash stuff for Firefox and Vivaldi. You got Google Chrome available here, even the beta and development versions of it. Google Earth, Google Talk, a Google Drive client called InSync, Plex Media Server, Skype. Like, it's a bunch of stuff easy to access, which would not be as easy to do otherwise. Because, like, for Google Chrome, for example, normally you had to go to Chrome's website, download it from there, do all that. Solus, one click, install, type in your password, boom. Don't have to go browsing the web for software, which is more of a Windows thing. And always, stop flickering! It always bothers me when I had to do that here, but I have not had to here on Solus. Very nice. One more thing I want to mention with their software. While Solus, as it is a smaller distribution, and it's completely independent, not based on any other Linux distribution, unlike a lot of other things that are based on like Debian or Ubuntu, it's completely independent, it's its own thing, has its own package manager. So as a result, it does not have as large of a selection of software as other things like Ubuntu or Debian or Fedora, for example. But for me, it has had pretty much all of the essential stuff that I've needed. So while it is a smaller selection, what they do have is the good stuff, in my experience. So, plus 10 to Solus. Not plus 1, just plus 1's too small. Plus 10. So, also speaking of their software, Solus is what I've heard it referred to as a curated rolling release. So, with Linux, there are distributions that are either like a rolling release or they have like a fixed release system. Ubuntu is an example of a fixed release, like they have releases every 6 months or long-term support releases every 2 years. Rolling releases, such as, let's say, Arch Linux or OpenSUSE Tumbleweed or Solus here, they are updated constantly. So they don't have like big every 6-month releases. They're just constantly updated. So also you never have to worry about like reinstalling it. You just install it once and then boom, you're going and installing like that, unless something breaks. But you know that's probably more likely to happen on like Arch, for example. But even then, usually the software is all tested and whatnot, because I'm sure there's like stable repositories versus unstable even for Arch. I don't actually know. I've never really run Arch. But with Solus, it's, like I said, more of a curated rolling release in that everything is still updated constantly. There's no, like, big releases, but it's kind of more curated in that you kind of have, like, waves of updates rather than every little thing getting updated as the update comes. So technically, you might have to wait a little bit longer to get the software, but in my experience, again, you don't have to wait too long. You get the updates still pretty quickly, and so far, everything has been super stable. So that has been awesome. And also, that's a reason it's another reason I really wanted to switch to something like Solus, is because while I have always appreciated Ubuntu and like the wide availability of software and stuff for it, the thing with it is with the fixed point releases, you don't always get like up-to-date, like fully up-to-date software, which I like new stuff. So that was a big reason I really wanted to switch to Solus as well, because I would get the new stuff easily. For example, let's take OBS, which we're recording with right now. To keep OBS fully up to date on Ubuntu, you have to go and add like a separate on Ubuntu, it's called PPA's Personal Package Archives, like a own little separate thing. Here, this is just the latest version straight from the Solus repos. So, it's fantastic. Alright, so another thing that I want to talk about that really got me liking Solus is their community engagement. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it is a smaller distribution because it's completely independent, not based on any other distro and stuff. They do have a nice decent size, especially nowadays, nice size community, but it's still smaller than the rest. But because they're kind of smaller than other distributions, it's also easier to get direct contact with them. So a very recent example, which really got me liking Solus even more because of how like engaged they are with their community, is an issue that I came across with the game Cities Skylines. I did a Twitter post about it. We're going to go to that right now, because it actually led to a sort of small conversation with the Solus team. Let me go find that post real quick. So I was having an issue with City Skylines, where when I launched it, it would go to just this blue screen where I could see the game cursor, but it was just stuck like that, and nothing else would happen. So I mentioned it on Twitter, and eventually they did actually get back to me. I'm going to go into that in a second. Well, actually, we'll go into that right now as I'm talking about this. So they did get back to me rather quickly, like a couple hours after I made the post, talking about it, and it was like, okay, something about Steam update. Whereas I was like, okay, I did like many hours of research trying to get this resolved, to where I found a thing about some library that was updated to the 2.5. It was a glibc 2.25 version. It like basically broke not just City Skylines, but like any 64-bit games on the Unity game engine. which I did find a workaround for, which this bookmark right here has info of. So I found the workaround from here. I basically just had to install this package. It's called gemalloc, and it's like a memory allocation sort of thing. So basically, what I did for that, I installed that, and then in the Steam launch options for City Skylines, it was just gemalloc.sh, then command. So basically, it ran the game with this thing for the memory allocation. That worked as a workaround. That's pretty nice. I gave them that information not long after. Eufy1 Dead, which is the Twitter handle of Ike Dougherty, the project lead of Solus, got on it. They told me about it. That's pretty cool. He also tweeted, and then not long after that, I don't know why their last tweet's not in here, but at some point, whoops, hold on, tweets and replies. I'll find it here. Yeah. So update confirmed that Ike did a patch for it that resolved it, and it will be part of updates once it gets synced to the stable repo. So not only did I like communicate the issue with them and they got back to me very quickly about it, they're also, it's already hopefully going to be fixed that quickly. So yeah, major points there for their community engagements. Very, very awesome. Plus, it's just cool to have actually spoken to the team behind the operating system that your computer's running. Like that's pretty awesome. And finally, the last thing that I really like about Solus, which is very much up to opinion, I just like their name. It's I know it probably sounds like a dumb thing to end on. It's like, of all the things you mentioned, you're gonna say the last thing you're gonna mention that you saved for last is their name. Yes, because okay, so I've talked about Ubuntu a lot in this. And not only is Ubuntu like basically the most popular Linux distribution right now, and I was using it for a time and like, well, stuff based on it for a time, but one of the things I really liked about Ubuntu is the name of it. It just sounds good as for like an operating system. It just sounds marketable, I guess. So, and of course there's other distros that have like decent names as well. Like you got, I was going to say Fedora as an example. That's like, that kind of makes you think of the hat. And then OpenSUSE is like, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like some names for these distributions just sound really good. And Solus is one of those. So it's kind of a small thing, very much my own opinion. But then again, so is this whole list. But yeah, I just really like the name. And with that being said, that is why I like Solus. So if you guys have any questions, of course, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to do I have more Linux videos planned upcoming, more specific things focused on like applications that I use instead of what you might have available on Windows. So like Linux alternatives to Windows applications, things like why I like more a more cohesive look at like why I switched to Linux and if I would recommend it for others. I want to do more stuff focused on that. Of course, we're going to have the gaming stuff, gaming videos all continuing as well as normal. But yeah, so I have plenty of stuff planned. More Linuxy stuff, more gaming stuff. Stay tuned. If you guys like this, make sure to like and subscribing, all that good stuff. Any questions or comments down below. Also, Twitter, Mastodon. Those links are down below as well. Till next time, this has been Axel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.